Thank you so much, Amisa, for joining us once again. It's been an honor to have you in the different sessions we have as Rehacks. And I think it's been quite beneficial, especially with the aspect of mental health. As with cybersecurity, I think we are not exempted from experiencing such turmoils in such an industry. Maybe I think how we know Amisa is through Hackfest in 2019. She had presented on mental health, and again, we would love to hear about her more, especially for the same topic. So I think I can let maybe Laura say one something about her, and then we can proceed to hand it over to Amisa to proceed on with the session for us.
Thank you so much, Eve. As I mentioned before we started live streaming, Misa, it's so good to have you here. I remember we did a similar session with you for Hackfest 2019, and it was a collaboration between you and Charles, and it was such a insightful session because we got to learn a few things or a few tips that we could use, especially when we are burnt out or we're just experiencing some sort of mental issues that are brought about by the work we do. And it's so great that we're having this session today. And I hope that community members will get to learn something, will get to know how to take care of their mental health. So Amisa, thank you so much for joining us, and you can begin the session.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's always a pleasure to engage with the She-Hacks and your community. And it's like I'm coming back to my family again. So my lightings have a problem because I cannot put on the lighting, the lighting cause of my glasses to reflect. So I hope that the most important part of the session will be more listening to what I have to present. So today my session is basically just going to make us understand what is mental health, because most of us out there are aware of the fact of we have mental health issues. We have every person is struggling with mental health issues now, especially in the cybersec, whereby we know that there are few professionals in the cybersec, and we know that people in this field specifically have to put in a lot of work compared to people in the other field. And then as youth who are majority in this field, there's that aspect of competition, that aspect of wanting to be better. You know, the normal colleague competition amongst the people that you're working with. Sometimes some are healthy, some are not healthy, and also the fact that the people working in the cyber, as much as as people who are not in the cyberspace, whenever we are thinking of cyber and mental health, we only think about the aspect of how we get cyberbullied and how we get conned or how our accounts get hacked and all those stuffs, but not knowing that there is actually people who are working behind the scenes to make sure that most of the issues that we are going through are trying to be to know. There are people who are trying to make sure that we don't go through such issues. So, and also knowing that the fact that it takes time and it takes effort and energy and resiliency to actually stay in this field. And people actually say that there is money, but in cybersec, but I believe that even if there is money, there is a price that one has to pay. And most of the time, we see that the price that some people or people in this sector has to play is in the aspect of their mental health and their mental well-being. So today I want us to explore what mental health is, and my session is going to be divided in understanding what mental health is, the different types of mental illnesses that a lot of people experience in these spaces, and then how we can be able to help ourselves, like what are the interventions, what are the approaches that we can use to minimize such mental health effects. And then I'll open the floor for questions and then we can close. So mental health, I usually just try to explain it in a layman's language, like everybody outside there can understand. So whenever you're thinking about mental health, you think of it in three aspects. First of all, you think of it as the health aspect, and then there's the mental aspect. So a human being, we know that a human being is made up of three parts: the mind, the body, and the soul. So most of the time, we find that the mind, the body, and the soul, we take care of our physical, which is the body. We are very keen on it, making sure we take each shower, eating healthy, sleeping on time. Whenever we feel sick, immediately we know the signs and symptoms, we run to the hospital to take the necessary medication. Like, we can do everything and anything to make sure that our physical health is not compromised. Also, our spiritual, which is we've talked about the body, the physical aspect of it. Now we're talking about the spiritual aspect of it, which is the soul. So when it comes to spirituality, everybody and everyone has a way of finding ways in which they can communicate to a higher being, or whichever source of communication, just to make them ease, and just do some routines, some rituals, so that they can connect to their inner selves or their inner being. So most of the time you find that we tend so much to take care of our spirituality. Like, you find that with spirituality, some of us are actually religious, and you find that we go through the religious rituals just to make sure that we are sane. But most of the part that we neglect is our mental health, and that is the mental aspect of it. So you find that the way we take care of our body is not the same way we take care of our health. For instance, God forbid, but if somebody has cancer, you'll find that each and every person out there has gone, and we crowd fund, we make sure that they're supported, like, immediately, like, we find ways to support them. But whenever we hear that somebody has gone through a mental illnesses, the first thing is we either stigmatize them, or we don't want to get involved in it, or we see it as something that will come and go. We just don't give it that importance as much as we usually give our mental health. So that our physical health. So that is where the aspect of mental health is. So in a nutshell, you say that a human being is made up of the mind, the body, and the soul. I know we all know that. Let me assume we all know that. Now, when it comes to the mind, when you're just talking about mental health, just remember this thing, if you can remember anything from this session, that the mind is also made up of three aspects. So the mind, when you're talking about mental health, you're looking into three things: your thoughts, your behaviors, and your feelings. All those three: your thoughts, what you're thinking about; your behaviors, how you're behaving, and how you're feeling. So you find that most of the time, all the three things, your thoughts, behaviors, and feelings, are usually at par. So how do I know that I'm having a mental health issue, or my mental health is stable? When the three aspects are stable: my thoughts, my behaviors, our feelings, if they are okay, they are stable, they are at equilibrium, I'm okay. But where they are not at equilibrium, or I'm overthinking or underthinking, or I'm behaving erratically or irrationally, or my thoughts are just not outside, or I'm having a lot of imbalances, hormone imbalances, which leads to mood swings, that means that my mental health is compromised. So whenever you're talking about mental health, we ignore all those terms outside that describe mental health. I just think about the relationship between our thoughts, our behaviors, and our feelings. So when it comes, and here's a good example: how many of you have ever, I know if you've attended some of my session, I try to use this example a lot because it's something that we can relate with. For instance, how many times have you sat by yourself and then you just remember how somebody treated you? And then you just get so worked up and you kasirika, like you get so mad, like, why did they allow them to treat me that way? So like, that is your thoughts. It evoked feelings in you. So you're feeling angry, you're feeling bad, you're feeling all these sorts of emotion, and then your action will be determined. Then, will I call them and tell them off, or what will I do? Will I journal about it? Will I do exercise to get the anger, the emotions outside my system, or what will I do about it? Or it can happen vice versa, whereby you're in the first scenario, we say that you're thinking about something and then it evoked a thought. It can also happen in happy scenarios, whereby we find people just laughing by themselves on the roadside, and you're wondering, kwani huyu anacheka nini? Why is this person laughing? But maybe they've thought of something or somebody who made them smile. I know if you're coming from an African household, when you smile at your phone, so people assume other things. So that's kind of an example. You're just smiling at something that is your thoughts has evoked a feeling in you, and then you're reacting. We can see the smile on the face. So that is the relationship between the thoughts and the feelings. Your feelings can also make you think otherwise. A good example, let's say something just or somebody made you angry. Okay. This example, I like using it a lot. Every day you walk, you are used to a friend or a colleague. You walk, every morning you salimia each other, you greet each other. So every day, let me give an example. I have a friend. So every day before or at work, we say hi to each other. So every day we say hi to each other. So this morning I say hi and she walked past me. So the first thing won't be the thoughts. The first thing will be the feeling. I'll feel hurt. I'll feel mistreated. I feel demeaned. I feel naonesha madharau, mbona ananiignore. And then now I'll start thinking, did I do something to make her react this way? Ama nilisema kitu. Ama, so we start questioning ourselves. So you see, so those three aspects, that is how our feelings can evoke different thoughts. And then the behavior is always the outcome of it. So we remember that for mental health, it's just simple and clear. Our thoughts, behaviors, and feelings, if they're stable, we are okay. If they're not stable, that means we have to look into something. So I'm also going to summarize. We've already understood what mental health is. So I'm also going to summarize what the main type of mental illnesses that we interact with. So, because my aim is usually, most of us talk about mental health, and as counselors are out here waiting for clients to come. But if people don't understand that there are different kinds of mental illnesses outside there, how will they know that they have issues that they should seek support with? In the same way, if people do not know the signs of malaria or the signs of TB or now the signs of COVID, we wouldn't even try to test or to find ways in which we can support ourselves. So it's important to have the basic knowledge. And a disclaimer is that most of this, I'm just giving the signs and symptoms so that we can relate with and pick it even if we are outside the session. But this does not, even if I go through some, what is it called, signs and symptoms or example, it cannot entirely diagnose yourself and say that you have a mental health issue. Your mind. So mental health, the way physical health is categorized. So we have like different kinds of diseases. We have like cancer, we have viruses like HIV and the COVID. We have like intestinal problems like it is categorized the same way mental health is categorized. So we start with the first one. The first one is the mood disorder. So mood disorder is very common. This one, like, I think everybody, even if people are not in the cyberspace, they've experienced it. Mood disorder is basically your moods. So some people, due to hormone imbalance or due to their genetic decomposition or due to the environment, their mood may tend to be to have imbalances due to the hormone that they're having. And also, this is usually to say that for as long as you're a human being, you'll have hormone imbalances. That does not mean that, because I know most of the time when you hear about mood, we just automatically, and whenever we see women angry or tired, yet that with their moods, or huyu ako na makasiriko or something like that. So this is just to say that for as long as you're a human being, you have hormones, and sometimes they react and sometimes they're not in balance, and that is when you have the mood disorders. So mood disorders, we have two main mood disorders. We have depression and bipolar. So depression is just an overdue long sadness, like normal sadness. I can be sad today or now, and then something makes me happy. But for depression, how, as a counselor, how I'm able to know that somebody's going through depression when the sadness has gone up to over 2 weeks, you're still sad. I've given you your best food, I've taken you out, I've given you whatever. We are just trying, but like, you've been given everything that can make you happy, but you're just feeling that heavy feeling in your heart, and you feel like you don't know how to go about it. It's just there. You wake up, you're just feeling that your heart is so heavy. It doesn't go. You don't want to interact with people. You just feeling helpless. And then depression comes with the helplessness. You just feel helpless and worthless, and you just feel like you don't have any value. And even if you have success, because people tend to measure success differently. And for us millennials, we are told that most of us associate success with having materialistic things. So even if you have those materialistic things, the cars, the followers on social media, the money, the everything, the depression does not see whether you have it or doesn't have, because it's hormonal. Like, you cannot control what your hormone will erupt or have the imbalance. So it comes. And then for depression, one thing about it, it has stages. So with the stages, and the final stage of it usually has stages from the lists and to until the extent one, which is suicide and suicidal thoughts. So I'm not going to go into details into that, but just know that it has stages. And the final one is suicide. Somebody just deciding that enough is enough. I just want to let go of I'm just tired. And most of the time I've seen and I've experienced people, especially from the cyber space, who, if not immediate intervention is taken in making sure that they're supported mental health wise, they tend to go to the far end of wanting to commit suicide because of the various reasons that I had mentioned before. So that is one of the major mood disorders. Nimesema the kwanza ni mood disorders, and then niko na bipolar na depression. So bipolar, ask any Nairobian person. A lot of people, when you have those mood swings, we associate and tend to call it bipolar. So let's say for now, I'm so mad, nimekasirikia kila mtu, I'm mad at everyone. And then after a few minutes, I'm happy with everyone. So if people associate that and say that is bipolar, especially when you don't understand people. Some people actually, most of the time, just lack basic communication skills, or they don't know how to create rapport or interact with people. So when we have that, you find that if we cannot explain that phenomena, we tend to label it as bipolar. But no, bipolar is a period. So a period whereby somebody has the period, it has two phases. The manic phases, maniac, whereby you are hyper, you can do everything, like 1 or 2 weeks or 2 months, you are a go-getter, you'll achieve your goals, you've knocked all the doors, like you are there, you are accomplishing these things. And then there's a period that is called depressive, whereby you have the depressive syndromes, whereby you are
Sorry, Amisa, can you guys hear me? Did we lose her?
Yes, I've lost her.
Yeah.
I believe we did.
But we can give her a few minutes to join back. I believe we've learned something.
Yeah. She's still online. Oh, she's left now.
She's joining in a few.
Okay.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Sorry for that. Stima imepotea. So we'll just continue. Okay, so nilikuwa naongelelea about bipolar. So we say that we have mood disorders, depression, and bipolar. Bipolar is when you have two phases, where is the maniac phase, a period of time where you can see somebody is hyper and doing a lot of things, and then a period of time whereby they can't even go brush their teeth. Just waking up is a problem. Like, they even cannot even take care of their hygiene, their surroundings and all. So most of the time, if you don't understand this, you'll assume that this person, they are very lazy, especially when we don't understand this syndrome. We assume that these people are lazy because 1 month or 2 months or 1 week, they've given, like, they go getter, like you're happy to have them in your team. And then the other month, like, they're not able to do it. So for that, we make sure that the good thing about majority, like 70% of mental illnesses is that they have what is it called, interventions, and they have cure. So like it's a healing process, like you can heal through it. So the good thing is that you go to a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist, they assess you and they make sure that you get hormones, you get pills that will ensure that the antidepressants that have hormonal balancing part of it, so that at least your hormone will be at point you can start communicating well. But that means that you have to accompany it with counseling also. So that is the first one. The second one is anxiety. Now, this is very common in the cybersec space, and it usually starts especially when people are starting with developing and coding. Now, we know anxiety is, we know the normal anxiousness, whereby if I'm told to speak in front of people, I'll get anxious. If I'm going to in a place in a first time in a certain place, or interacting with a certain group of people, those are the normal scenarios of anxiousness. And it's normal to be anxious. It's also normal to be sad, but it is not normal to have this anxiousness spill over and affecting your life. So with anxiousness, we also measure anxiousness when now it is starting to affect your life. Like, let's say those people who have phobias, like you can have phobia. I can fear going up a lift or peeping down a building, but the only challenge or the only problem is when now those phobias are affecting the way I'm interacting with people. Like I cannot go to a certain meeting in a certain building because it is very high. The floor is high and far, and I cannot panda lift. So you see, so that is how we start with anxiety. And some people have anxieties that lead to panic disorders. And this especially, it is so common in the cyber space, whereby you find that a lot of people who are working there are anxious. I think because the environment is work is never done. Like I don't think when you're working in the cyber, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the people that I've interacted with in this space do not have like a day where they can say kazi imeisha. There's always something that has to be done and just being on the constant move, knowing that something has to be done constantly will definitely evoke that feeling of anxiety, and then now it will start prolonging. And then one thing about it is that also another thing is that once you're in this space, for the people that I have interacted with, is that a lot of people, it gives you a good lifestyle, but a lot of people get anxious when they're not in a position to deliver, because now if I'm not in a position to deliver, that means that my job is at iko kwa shida. And this is common not only in this space, it is rampant in this space, but also common in all areas of employment and STEM specifically. So the aspect that you want to do everything to keep your job, and knowing that you have to work in a certain environment, or certain that you cannot do it outside there. So you have to have your own community. So that is one of the things that causes anxiety. For anxiety, you have just to work with a counseling psychologist, because there are no pill that will tell your mind to stop thinking fast. So you just have to work on with different let me not go into the psychological term. So you just have work with the psychologist or counseling psychologist who can help you now start developing rational thoughts, so that your thoughts don't end up harming you and causing you anxiousness. Because anxiety is just basically having those irrational thoughts and seeing that they're affecting your life going forward. So I've talked about mood disorders. I've talked about anxiety disorder. Now I'm also going to talk about one major disorder, eating disorder. This is very common. I know for eating disorders, if you studied psychology, you'll notice that a lot of researchers have shown that women are the ones who experience eating disorder. But apparently in the cybersec, the research are showing that everybody actually have passed a period whereby they've been having eating disorders. Okay. And sometimes it does not develop to the normal psychological disorders. It's just like you find yourself under eating or overeating because maybe you have a lot of work to do and you need to catch up. So even waking up off your desk is not able, you don't have time to do that, or the only food that you can be able to cook for yourself are fast food. So you end up adding weight, which may end up affecting you. And also the aspect of living in a pressurized, like working in a very, very pressurized environment whereby you have to deliver, and there usually attacks to be looked into, threats to make sure that they don't come to pass, and all those kind of things. So you find yourself that all those kind affect how your body relates with food. So you have different relation with food. But for most cybersec people, that is the only food they have, the relation they have with food. I'm not going to start mentioning that they're going through anorexia or those other food disorders, because for people in this space, it's just either under eating, overeating, or just not taking care of the physical health as well, and making sure that they're eating healthy, which of course, as we've seen with the three relationship, if you don't take care of your physical health, that means that your mind will be affected, and vice versa. So we also have to make sure that for people in this space, like we have to prioritize how to eat, and we'll come to the interventions later on how we can use it. Another very common mental health, I've mentioned the third one. The first one was mood disorder, anxiety disorder. I've talked about food disorder, and I'm talking about drugs and substance addiction. When I'm talking about drugs and substance addiction, we've been taught since standard 6 the different types of drugs that exist. So, but as we are growing up and as we develop, we realize that addiction does not just come from drugs. You can be addicted to work. Like, you don't want to face your thoughts, your behaviors, and your feelings, and you think that the only way to escape is through overworking. So you are there 24/7, or just working, like every time. You don't even have time out for yourself. You don't have your time to interact with people. You're just trying to escape a lot of things through working. So that is addiction. Working also is addiction. In this space, we only tend to measure about drugs and substance addiction, but people suffer from work addiction. People suffer from sex and pornographic addiction. People suffer from different types of addiction, and addiction is just something that keeps your mind wanting to do something repetitively in the form of ignoring the root cause of why you are trying to get addicted. And the only way that you can walk through the addiction journey is, first of all, being aware. Like, just being aware that normal people in this space are supposed to work an average of this hour. So am I overworking myself? And do I find pleasure in overworking? Sometimes the pleasure is because you love the work, but you are the only person who can tell whether you are escaping something or you are trying to heal from something. So it is a personal journey from addiction, but a lot of people in this space, and let's not even talk about the drugs and substance addiction of bang, like the normal ones that we interact with, bang, alcohol, and cigars. Those ones are in this space a lot, whereby you find that somebody just has, if they're addicted kabisa, they just have to, before they sit in front of their laptop, they have to smoke or something, and then it will cool their mind, and then they come back to it. So one thing about addiction is, a lot of people have, not a lot of people, every single person have coping mechanism. So sisi wote tuko na coping mechanism, but the difference between each and every one of us is how we use our coping mechanism. And some may be good coping mechanism, healthy coping mechanism, and some are healthy coping mechanism. Let's say your work is demanding and you have a lot of pressure and all those things. You can choose a healthy coping mechanism to remove the stress that you're having. And you can also choose to have a negative coping mechanism by using different types of addiction to remove the stress that you're having. So at the end of the day, it is all about you and how you want to distress at the end of the day. So that is addiction. And the final one, which I usually share, those are the when I'm saying there are many, we have DSM-5, which is usually like the Bible for all the mental illnesses, but in this account, I only chose the specific ones which usually affect us, and specifically today for people in the cybersec community. So I've mentioned 3 of them, which are highly, like a lot of people in this area experience. Some actually don't experience, some are healthy. And finally, personality disorder. So personality disorder is usually one of my favorite because when I usually talk about, I'll limit personality disorder to 2 personality disorders only. And I want to talk about the common one. For personality disorder, it's unlike the other mental health illnesses, whereby it affects your mind, behaviors, and your thought. This one is like, it affects your character, your personality, something that you cannot measure, something that you cannot see. So with personality disorder, you find that most of people who have personality disorders, like all other mental illnesses, they have either have it genetically or mostly specifically how they were raised. So a lot of people develop personality disorders by how they were raised. So one main one that a lot of people deal with, and a lot of people in this space have actually experienced it, is narcissistic personality disorder. So with narcissistic personality disorder, I know a lot of people, there is normal jealousy. People get jealous, but there's that jealousy of putting others down, stepping on each other, and just trying to win outshine people. So jealousy is an emotion that is in everybody. Like, people have the green eye, but it's how you portray it or how you react to it. Or you remember the relationship between thoughts, behaviors, and feelings. You can have the feeling like somebody did something good and it evoked a jealousy feeling in you, but then you can be rational about it and just be happy for them or not happy for them. In either way, for as long as it does not reach to a place whereby it affects your mental health, whereby you're not sleeping, you're so angry, you're so bitter because a lot of people are making it, and you've now made your life focus to try to put other people down. So that is basically narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of millennials have gone through it in work settings whereby people are so difficult. And one thing about narcissistic personality disorder is they're very controlling. And the main thing about narcissistic personality disorder, they have 2 faces. If you get to know them at a personal level, you'll find that they are very, very hard, bitter people. But outside there, everybody loves them. Like, it will be even hard for you to come and complain to people that such and such a person did this and this to me, and such a person did this and this to me. And you find that most of people tend to interact or get into relationship with narcissistic people, because when you're in this space, you don't have time to work, you don't have time to interact, you don't have time to make to build your other part of life outside there. So it will be easier for you to attract narcissistic people. And one thing I usually make it a disclaimer is that we don't attract narcissistic people. We just enable them, because when we say we attract them, it's like to punish because we are attracting this kind of people. Apana, we just enable. They come to our lives and then we enable them. So you'll find the characteristic of narcissistic personality disorder are people who are very, very controlling. And they have 2 sides that I've told you, they're very liked. And you'll find that they're the same people in an organization. They will rise higher in ranks day in, day out. And they can put you down, they can demean you, they can soul crush you. People who interact with people with narcissistic personality disorder tend to have more time to heal, because by the time, even after interacting with them in a period of 1 month, you'll get outside of that relationship or friendship or working environment with your soul crush. You'll feel you won't have any self-esteem. You'll feel like you don't have even motivation. You'll be crushed. Like, you'll have to start building yourself from the scratch. One characteristic of narcissistic personality disorder is that they use gaslighting. Gaslighting is very common, whereby I want to make you feel stupid I do something to you, but when you raise it up, I make you stupid, or I make it bad for you for saying such a thing. Let me give you an example. I've met somebody who is narcissistic, and they did not follow through what they're supposed to do. And when I call out on them and tell them you are supposed to deliver this and this and this, I do not deliver. And what they'll start saying is like, are you sure? Did I send? They'll start defending themselves in such a way that you start doubting yourself. So gaslighting comes when you start doubting yourself. You start doubting the reality. And whenever you interact with narcissistic people, they do it. Some do it intentionally. Some don't, even when they do it. When they may constantly make you doubt yourself to the extent that you start developing anxiety disorder. Now you see the link, whereby even if some people are so narcissistic to the extent that if you see their phone call, you start having a certain feeling in your heart. It's not terror, it's not fear, but there's just a feeling that you cannot describe because you're just seeing their phone call. Because it's either, you'll be blamed for something, you'll be demeaned, or you'll be told off, or they are acting friendly so that because they want something from you. And it's usually, most of the time, statistically, it has shown that a lot of ladies are usually prone to getting into relationship, friendship, and work environment with narcissistic people compared to men. But I'm not saying that men don't also engage this narcissistic relationship or this narcissistic people. So you just have to know yourself. And then one thing about narcissistic, and then this is one disadvantage of having it, is you cannot cure them. Unlike the other mental illnesses, like I cannot start taking care of your personality unless you want to change, which is usually hard for this type of personality type, because they're usually the better, they're proud, you cannot say anything against them, they are the best, all of those things. So the best thing you usually do when you realize that somebody is actually a narcissistic, like you cannot work with their energy and you need to protect your energy, the 3 thumb rule when engaging in narcissistic: don't get involved. If they don't involve you, don't get involved. Don't get engaged in whatever that they're doing, and try as much as you can to, when you are engaging, if they engage you and you can find an opportunity to disengage, the better. And don't try to explain yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you try to explain yourself to people, to somebody who knows you, for some people, you don't need to explain yourself and they immediately understand you. But for them, you'll explain yourself and they'll use that explanation to put you down. So a lot of people tend to interact with narcissistic personality and their energy is drained and it's so hard for them. Like you could see somebody who was a high achiever doing a lot of things in their life, and then they get into this certain workspace and they're actually, it's like a flower which is not blooming anymore. It was initially blooming and now it's no longer blooming. So you find that they're just becoming dimmer and dimmer. So you find like the light is no longer there. So when you find yourself in such a space, you just have to start thinking about your mental health, because a lot of narcissistic people tend to drive people to commit suicide at the end of the day. So make sure that your work environment is actually safe for you so that you can be in a position to deliver better. And then I think I'll just stick to that personality disorder, because I know for sure, even within a period of January to now, like I can say you the number of people who have been hurt, who are healing, who are going through coming out of narcissistic personality disorders are very, very many. And you have just to learn how to identify them, because we are all going to work. I'm not going to say that, oh, if I'm coming to this workspace, I need to work with certain kind of people. Apana. We cannot control who we are going to meet, but we can control our interaction with them, and we can control our energy around them so that we make sure that they don't deplete our energy, they don't crush us down. Like we don't give people an opportunity for them to affect our mental health. Like we prioritize our mental health and make sure that we are not harmed by people outside there, because we don't know what people have and what they're carrying and other issues. So I've talked about the main mental illnesses that affect it. It's wide, but this one are the main ones that I've seen. And now we go to interventions. So I've mentioned that the first among the mental illnesses and mental disorders are the normal. You have to get psychological support. That is a psychiatrist or a therapist to help you identify which mental illness you're going through. Me mentioning all this so that you know that I may be having this and this and this, and I can exploit more through further intervention. It's like we know the signs of COVID, but in order to make sure that we have COVID or we don't have COVID, you have to go for testing. It's the same. I'm just giving you information about it. So that is one, going through a professional to assist you in it. The second way, most of the things that you're supposed to do to elevate our mental health is just to take care of the 3 aspects: our mind, body, and soul, the spiritual, the physical, and the mental aspect of ourselves. So in which essence, if you have to create a routine for yourself. And I know it's cliche, everybody outside there will be talking about self-care, but self-care is not homogeneous. I cannot say that because journaling works for me, it will work for another person. Maybe journaling works for me, but for another person, taking a walk in the forest works for them. For another person, doing an exercise works for them. For another person, just waking up and cooking for themselves breakfast. So it boils down to you internally. What makes you safe? What will make you heal your inner child? What will make you explore part of you that you didn't know that need to be explored by taking care of yourself? Because the only way that we can grow is by making sure that we thrive in safe spaces. How can I make sure that this environment is safe for me? Does it mean that I need to be more assertive? So I need to learn assertive skills. Does it mean that I need to put more boundaries so that I learn how to put the necessary boundaries so that I don't overwhelm myself, put a lot of things in my plate that I cannot be in a position to deliver? So self-care, healing journey, taking care of your mental health goes back to you yourself. How do I want to thrive mentally? Do I need to add, let's say for instance, if thriving is in my success, in my career is what is giving me stress and that it may lead to mental health issues, can I be able to learn new skills? And then can I be able to explore writing, writing, what is it called, CVs and cover letters, and making sure somebody sees them, correct them so that I can start applying for the job. So it goes down to what is ailing me, what is affecting my thoughts, behaviors, and feelings, and how do I personally make sure that I can help myself. You see, so with also, that means that if you don't know this, Google is always the teacher. Ask your friends, what am I good in? Ask the people around you, when I'm relaxed, how do I behave? Do they want to see more of that? So like you start your self-awareness journey, knowing, because one thing with mental health, if you're not self-aware, you even don't know that the person giving you stress is a person having narcissistic personality disorder. Or maybe you don't know that you are sabotaging your career because you have self-esteem or self-worth issue that is the cause of the environment that you are in or the people that you had interacted with earlier. So at the end of the day, self-care, healing, mental health interventions and approaches, apart from the scientific, psychological one of getting therapy and medication, most of it, like 70% of it, is coming for ourselves, making sure we have mindful exercise, yoga, and all those things that works for us. So in a nutshell, mental health is very, very wide. But I hope that after this session, we've been able to interact and understand what mental health is, what some of the main mental illnesses, and that it has been like an introduction session so that we can go and explore more on how to take care of ourselves and how to make sure that we live in a healthy environment. So I throw it back to my hosts. That was my short presentation. So back to you, Laura or Evelyn.
Wow, thank you so much, Amisawi. Personally, I have learned a lot. I don't know if anyone has questions, but I have one, Amisa. For someone, I know you've mentioned some tips, but for someone who maybe is stuck in a toxic work environment with a narcissistic boss, and they can't leave for now, how do you handle such a boss?
Okay, for one thing about narcissistic environment, please, if you know that you are working in a narcissistic environment, after exit strategy. You will be crushed. You know, sometimes when I've personally gone through working in such environment with such people, and I help people in their journey through that, like you'll be so crushed that you'll waste so much time and healing that sometimes I usually just feel sorry because it will affect you your whole life. So if as you're looking for your exit strategy, find ways, like I've said, the 3 rules of engaging with narcissistic people is try as much as you can not to explain yourself. Because explain don't get involved or don't engage. If you are not involved, please, with a narcissist, for other people, you can involve yourself if you want to, but for them, run. If they don't involve you, thank God. Because all for them, it's never about empowering you. It's all about putting you down. Like, and for them, it's not like I'll come and insult you when in jinga, when hivi, apana. For them, they use subtle compliments or subtle just saying. They start with that until it gets into you and you start doubting yourself. So you bring a report today, and instead of giving you like that feedback that can help you grow, or that authentic positive feedback, or it doesn't have to be positive, but just that constructive feedback, you'll find that they'll just slide in a diminishing word, or they'll just say something about your look. Because for them, it's about shining. They need all the attention. So if they find that you're trying to steal your attention, and sometimes they'll assume you're beautiful than them, you're cleverer than them, or you're liked more than them. So they'll try dim all those lights everywhere. So for anyone engaging, I usually just say, try find an exit strategy. And one thing about narcissistic people, have a friend or two who you can go and tell them. Because when you have a good friend, let's say in a relationship or in a work situation, like if I come, when I'm gaslighting you as a narcissistic, and I tell you, no, you didn't schedule the meeting as you expected, and I'm 100% sure that I scheduled the meeting. So for them, it's about having evidence and having a person who can always affirm you that no, you're not wrong, and no, you're not going mad. Because sometimes it reaches to that extent whereby you're questioning even your sanity. Am I okay? Ama unaanza kujiuliza, mbona siku hizi niko na mashida hivi? I cannot schedule meeting, I cannot do it. But so you start doubting yourself. And once you start doubting yourself, it will obviously spill out to the.
We lost you for a moment.
Amisa, we have lost you.
Lost?
Oh, there, I think.
Oh, okay. So that is my tip for narcissistic people. Don't engage, don't over-explain. Learn to put boundaries. Don't be over-sympathetic. In short, don't be used. If you want to know that you have gone through narcissistic relationships or work environment, you'll always complain that, oh, watu wananitumia, oh, I'm being manipulated, oh, I'm being taken advantage of. When you start constantly having that, and you start fearing even interacting with people because you are scared that they may tumia you or they may manipulate you, step back and just start analyzing those relationships. Were you benefiting from it more, or are you what is the root cause, so that you can see if it is actually a narcissistic, you've been working with narcissistic people or not. I hope I've answered.
Yes, thank you, Miss.
Welcome.
I had one additional question. For me, we've also, I think I've encountered where someone treats you so nicely at this hour, the next hour, like a switch to like, do I even know you? Have we been working together? How do you treat such? Would that be a narcissistic disorder? Or how do you classify such a case where someone treats you well right now, then the next minute it's something else?
So for that is classic. It's called love bombing, whereby for them, since for them it's not about the relationship that you're bonding with people. It's about using people and taking advantage of people and just making people's lives hard. So, and it will be at their advantage. So this is what happens with love bombing. Love bombing is, I'll show you all the kind of love, attention. Even if I'm your friend, like I'll do things even your normal personal friend cannot do it, in the aim of like, I'm showing you that I'm a good person. But now it comes with the pay. So you'll have to pay it because you, whenever they're doing that, is so that you can, what is it called? lower your guard, and then you can start trusting them. And once you start trusting them, is now they start attacking you with words, subtle cues, like those small things that they do or say that really affect your mental health. And also, one thing is that even if they are not one, I've said earlier, for narcissistic people, it's about showing like they're the best. They have to show people that they're the wealthiest, and most of them they have money, they have a good job, they are more beautiful, so they need the center of attention has to be with them. So let's say if I'm with a narcissistic friend, and 1 minute we are so friends and everything, the other minute we're in a certain space whereby they need to be seen with certain important people and certain kind of people. Of course, for them, they will automatically switch off on you, and they'll start treating you mpaka unashanga ai. But then remember, they had already loved bomb you. Walisha kuonesha the good side of it. So you won't bite that ai mtu ako na madhara manini. In your mind, you'll start giving them excuses. You'll be like, oh, maybe I may meet these other new people, that's why I behave evil, because initially amekuwa akinionyesha yeye ni msempoa. So you see, because they use the love bombing to show you that they're good people, so that when they start mistreating you or demeaning you or just putting you down or treating you badly, you will take time to start judging them wrongly because they showed you love immediately. So that is a classical love bombing example that comes with narcissistic personalities.
It's such
I have one more question. Sorry. Sorry, Amisa, this is so interesting. I have one more question.
Okay.
For people who, let's say, sometimes experience panic or anxiety attacks at the workplace, how would you recommend that they handle it?
First of all, the good thing is if they are aware. You know, sometimes a lot of people I've come across that they're not aware that they're having a panic attack. They'll just rub it off and just say, okay, it normally happens. They cannot even explain what is happening to them. So one thing is when you are able to identify that I'm having either anxiety attack or a panic attack. So that is one. And then the next thing is trying to find the nearest mental health support, some individual or profession, so that they can help you understand the root cause of it. Because with anxiety, if you don't find the root cause of it, imagine it won't go. There'll always be something building up to making you anxious. So you have to find out the root cause of it, and then now the professional help, they can help even find safe ways to manage. So if it comes at work, because people have different personalities and different workspaces. So if I come to a profession and I tell them of my issue, they can be in a position to help me find ways to manage it when it comes to my space and what to do. For some people, breathing techniques, like most of the time I usually tell people, as you're still exploring this, there's usually the one breathing technique whereby you have to breathe from your stomach. Like most of the time we breathe from the upper part of your chest, but this one you make sure that you're breathing from your stomach. So I usually do that. Like whenever people are having or you notice that your friend is having a panic attack, you just tell them to breathe from their stomach. So like 10 times or more until they stabilize. Most of the time if they breathe from their stomach in and out for long, they stabilize. And then now they can be able to talk about what has triggered them. Because now if I know people trigger me, or certain assignment triggers me, or working with certain supervisors trigger me. So once I'm able to know that, I can learn how to manage it. But the key is self-awareness first, to know what triggers me, and then finding somebody to help you find positive coping mechanism to it. Oh, I've seen on the chat somebody asking, with the high price in Kenya for therapists and psychologists, what other ways can you recommend to take care of your mental health? I usually say that for it depends, because for my organization, we are pretty fair compared to other institutions. So you have, and there are a lot of organizations or people, especially students, who are actually doing their therapies who can actually assist you even for free, because they are looking for hours and they can offer you the services. So if you are not able to offer for therapies, but one thing I usually question people, I say, a lot of us assume that therapy is just me talking. We have a negative mentality toward therapy, because you assume that you're just going to take my money and just talk to one person for 1 hour, but not knowing that it is a healing process. Like if I was able just to talk to my friend, I could, but for the therapist, I know it's a healing process. And for us, we rather, when it comes to physical health, if I'm told to remove just 8,000 or how much for just 1 minute test for or 2 minute test for COVID-19, I'll toa kwa sababu nimeangalia, if I don't do it, it will affect my long-term plans. I won't travel, I won't do this. But for our mental health, we usually tend to assume that it is high because the average, like the most expensive therapist you can ever find is 4,000. Most actually start, the minimum is usually 1,500. And people can afford that. If I can afford chips, cuckoo outside there, I can also use the amount to nanny for mental health. But the reason as why I'm telling you that why is, if you invest in a good therapist who is professional, of course they'll come with charges, but you know you'll be healing. And you know it is a long-term thing. So for your mental health, it is better to, since you are living with your mental health forever, you better start taking care of it right now. So there are very many avenues of finding mental health treatment, but I've said earlier, even personal treatment, just going back to yourself and asking yourself, what can I do to make my body, my mind, soul, and body healthy? And what can I do to make my thoughts, behaviors, and feelings in balance? If it means journaling, if it means taking a walk or a stroll to balance my thoughts, anything that works for you, you do it. I hope I've answered that question.
I have another one also, I believe so, and then I have another one. There's also this place where someone used to behave in a certain way. Let's say they were so mean to you, and then once you go through maybe a life changing experience, they start being nice. Would you discount the bad things they did to you and accept the good things they're doing to you now? Or how do you handle such? Because it brings about mixed feelings to like, is this the real person I used to know? Is this, are they doing the right thing that I wish they would be doing? Should they just go back to being mean to me the way they were? How do you handle such?
Okay, so for such a case, my rule is usually treat people like, believe people the first way they treat you. Like, because it's when we keep on giving, and that is how we enable narcissists. You see, when we keep on giving them excuses, because one thing is that they'll show you, let's say amesha kukuonyesha like they are good people, but mara moja tu amesleep akasema something hurting or what. Of course, it depends actually with that kind of person. You see, with your relationship with that kind of person, there are some people who genuinely make mistakes, and we usually have that feeling that we don't trust our intuition, but that's why we have our guts feeling that they usually tell us. Kenya tunasemaga ako kakitu kaliniambia, like you can be able to tell if this person is genuine or not. And once you start having a confusion about how somebody is treating you, that's a red flag. Because even if I'm supposed to treat, even if it was a mistake, I won't keep on doing the same mistake continuously. So if it is consistent, that is a red flag. So you just step back and start analyzing without giving them, because our mind we don't want to hurt ourselves. So our mind will come up with excuses so that we don't hurt ourselves. We don't want to feel that pain. But I think in order for us to heal, we have to accept people for who they are. Stop giving them excuses if we know that they are causing more harm than good in our lives, and just learn to sit with the discomfort. Like, okay, I did not expect to be treated that way, but I've been treated that way. It's okay. I need to do what will work for me. So people do that. And yeah, narcissistic personality disorder is such an interesting topic. It's very, very wide and very, very interesting, but once you understand it, once you start letting people and not giving them excuses and just taking them for who they are, you save yourself a lot from dealing with the headaches, and you just find yourself gravitating towards the right people. But it's a journey all through.
Makes sense. However, I wanted to flip it a little bit of, let's say it was, that person was maybe a narcissist, and out of, let's say, maybe the parents, maybe the mom passes on, or such an experience comes up to their life, they now start seeing the meaning to life. I'm not creating an excuse, but they now start being consistent in doing the right thing the way it was supposed to be done, compared to how they were doing the wrong things always. And they would show you on your face, but now they come with some remorse to it. How do you treat such also?
Okay, one thing when you're talking about narcissistic personality disorder, they have different types. There's the overt narcissist who likes charming, who wants the attention seeking, who is loud, who loves having people, there's that kind of narcissistic person. And there's the covert, chinyamaji. So the covert narcissistic is not like overly and whatever. No, for them, it's all about sympathy. So for them, even if one thing about narcissistic personality disorder is that it does not end evil. It like, I cannot have something happen to me and then I change or something like that. A narcissistic is always a narcissistic person. And they may use that because, especially if I'm a covert narcissistic person, for them, it's all about excuses and sympathy. Like they come out, some people, have you ever met some people who will come up with just for the sake of getting sympathy from people, that come up with very, very sad stories, or they're never happy. Even if you're celebrating something, they'll always something like, for instance, let me give you two examples. And as is the overt one, if you've won something, let's say you've won an award, for them, they'll try demeaning you and just trying to like minimize your achievement, like literally. Like when it is the day of you receiving the award, they won't show up, or they show up and try steal the attention, or just very, very out things. But for overt, the covert ones, they won't show that one. Watakuja tu chini ya maji. And on your day, when you're supposed to receive the award, they'll come up with a complaint. You see, the other one was like trying to steal attention of your event or something. The other one will try with a complaint, so that the whole attention, remember, the end of the day, it's attention shifting towards them. So this one will just say, oh, I've lost, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I've lost, I was driving and I got an accident. I'm not saying that they should not tell you, but for narcissistic people, and you can see the pattern, you can know how, if somebody has been like trying, whenever something good is trying to happen or what, they find ways, either stima itafanya hiyo siku, ama they won't show up, or something better happened, or like that. So for them, it's all about sympathy to themselves. But at the end of the day, the relationship that we have, we best know how we interact with these people, so we can able to gauge. But one thing is, with narcissistic personality disorder, it doesn't end. It may switch from overt to covert, which rarely does, but it is still there. We just have to identify who is who and what is what. And I can, if of course I've been treating you badly and they want something from you, I'll use whatever thing to get it out of you. And then for narcissistic people, of course, they like associating themselves with fame, money, and all these flashy things. So if they want something from you, you're doing better, you'll start seeing them try to associate yourself back. And so it's also upon you to see, can this character, can I say this person is narcissistic or not? So it boils down to the consistency. Like wameifanya mara ngapi? Can I see a pattern? Once you see a pattern, you cannot give it excuse. If there is no pattern, yes, but if there is a pattern, hapana.
Maybe one last one. There was someone who had asked whether Karima is still with us. Is workaholic an addiction, a form of addiction? I believe that would be a better question to ask.
Okay. So workaholic, is addiction. Please, let's stop glorifying workaholism and burnout and kuchoka and not resting. Those are types of, like, you only get burnout when you're not taking care of yourself, and you don't take care of yourself when you're overworking yourself. So working, and most of the time you find, like there's overworking, like there's normal overworking, whereby you'll find that 1 week or 2 week, let's say you're working in a space, or you're having an event in your organization, that between that week you'll have a lot of work compared to other work. So that means that you'll have to overwork yourself. But that is overworking. But being a workaholic is when it has taken part of your lifestyle. You see, the way addiction, somebody cannot live without, without whatever thing they're addicted to, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or whatever. If it has been part of your lifestyle, just know that it is addiction. So that is how you can be in a position to separate the workaholism and just overworking yourself. But most of the time, overworking yourself leads to workaholism. If it is now your lifestyle, like you cannot do with, you are in a family gathering, but you're just watching out for emails. Even on Sunday, everybody knows you as that person who is working. It has become part of your lifestyle. Now you need to step back and just analyze, because it is high likely that it is workaholism once it starts affecting your lifestyle. So it is, and most of the time you're trying to escape from something. And if you don't exploit, all of us, when you're told that you're trying to escape from something, tutajiambia hapana, mimi najijua vizuri. But trust me, when you sit with a counseling or a professional mental health person, and you start digging the roots, you'll find so much things about you that most of the time maybe they have been stored in your subconscious memory, and they are dictating how you're behaving or interacting or just acting out with the people. Yep.
Amisa, there's a question in the chat. Someone is asking if narcissistic tendencies can be associated with certain personality types, for example, a melancholic personality type.
No. Melancholic, being sanguine, and those, no. Now, narcissistic is a disorder. Like when you're melancholic, like you of course you have your strengths and your weaknesses, but it does not mean that you go step over people. Actually, melancholic are just people who love their own spaces. They're calm and they're detached also, and they love, some love power. But for narcissistic, they cause more harm. Like each and every interaction with them is more harm. They will want to control your life. They want to say what to do, who to meet, what to wear, all those things. The melancholic personality types, they don't say demeaning words. Like I can have a melancholic personality and personality friend, and they'll show up for me compared to how a narcissistic. For narcissists, it's all about harm and causing more pain. And it's all about hurt people. Like because they're hurt and they don't realize that they're hurt, so they end up hurting people more and more and more. So for personality, narcissistic is a personality disorder. Melancholic is a personality type. So it is very, very different from each other.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amisa. This has been quite an insightful session, and especially listening to something else that is not I want to be good in hacking today. It's quite refreshing, I believe so. And thank you so much. It will be an honor to have you another time. And yeah, unless there's someone who has additional questions for Amisa. Okay, so Laura, do you have something to say, or Stella?
Yeah, thank you so much, Amisa. We've learned a lot. This is always an interesting topic because mental health is something everyone experiences, whether it's good mental health, whether you're stable or not, it's something everyone experiences. And this has been an insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Amisa. We look forward to hosting you again and again and again. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to more engagements with you.
Thank you. Maybe one something from one of the participants, Jackie or Emma.
I will say this has been extremely insightful. Thank you so much for the information. It's just been so engaging. I've learned a lot today. So thank you so much for this.
Okay, thank you so much, Amisa. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you on the next Tuesday.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.